Hi, this is Michelle Arietta, and I'm coming to you live from Transform, from the Becoming Better podcast, and I get to be a guest host, so I'm super excited. And I'm even more excited because I had the opportunity to meet the CEO and co-founder of Kinfolk, which totally can't believe it's been a year. And so Jeet Mukerji, and so I reached out to him and said, "Hey, come on the podcast," and he was like, "Absolutely." So his background is in AI at the intersection of people, and that's where he's been for most of his career. And so I thought I would take the opportunity to sit down with him and let him share a little bit about Kinfolk and his background. So talk to us a little bit about Kinfolk and what you've been up to, some exciting things in the past couple of months, and in layman's terms, what Kinfolk does.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you for having me on this.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited.
Cannot believe it's been a year since we were last year. And have been working at a company called Beamery prior to this and another work tech company. And I was building the AI team over there. And that was an HR tech platform as well. And when we were starting Kinfolk, it wasn't really like, hey, we're going to start an HR tech company. What we really wanted to do was help people do their best work. And what we saw is that employees and people at work end up spending so much time on stuff that isn't to do with their real work, and it gets in their way, and we wanted to remove that friction. And when we look at the team that is equipped and enabled to be able to maximize the potential of the biggest investment in the business, that's employees, that's the HR team, and yet they're the ones who are least supported to be able to do that thing. So that felt really off. As managers, we wanted to kind of bridge those two gaps. We found that the biggest unlock for us was when we were able to partner with the HR team, and yet they weren't able to partner with us. So that's where really Kinfolk came out of. And with Agentic AI, you can kind of think about Kinfolk as a 3-in-1 platform. The first one is it is a Slack native AI agent that not only answers questions, but actually does work for you and the people team and for employees too, such as generating verification letters, updating records, running LOAs and PIPs, and running business processes through HRISs like Workday. Underneath that, you have a ticketing system that is built specifically for HR teams. So they're not having to use ticketing systems like Jira or Zendesk or other ones, where they get much better collaboration and reporting. And then finally, you have a workflow automation suite, which then orchestrates workflows like onboarding, exits, open enrollment, performance management, all those kind of pieces, automatically books meetings. So altogether, really, the intention is to automate the repetitive but still important stuff so that the humans can focus on complex human work.
Yeah. I mean, as a chief people officer, thinking about all the work that the teams do where they're in the weeds and like constantly how can I up-level that so that they can do things that are less in the weeds and less repetitive to give them more growth opportunities. It's really fantastic. And I've obviously had the opportunity to see your product be demoed, and I know you've had a lot of growth in the product over the last year. That's really fantastic. I guess, when you're working with leaders of organizations or even the coordinators that are more hands-on in the product, what do you think is one of the biggest wins for them, or something that's really taken off their plates that really gives them the opportunity to up level? What do you think that is?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think any of those folks really signed up to do the things that they end up having to do.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody signs up to create repetitive employment verification letters over and over again, or needing to answer the same questions over and over again. So we do look at things like everything from basic knowledge surfacing all the way up to being able to run business processes across HR systems. And it really depends on the company and where that time is going. So we'll do analysis with them to look at their existing requests and then point the AI towards that. And that's really where we see the unlock. And so that what's happening now is that it's not like they are having to let go of any of the junior staff, and that is never something that we want to be able to do. The conversation is, instead of answering that question, now let's use your time to build an agent, and let's use your time to focus on the more complex work. So if you imagine there's a leave of absence process or a performance improvement plan process, and let's say the AI does the orchestration of it, and then the final conversation is what the people team is doing. So that's how it's shifting across the different teams.
Just touching sort of and tapping a little bit deeper into that, what are you seeing that some of your best customers are doing with regards to AI, whether it's, in relationship to Kinfolk or just, I'm sure you talk a lot with your customers. What are you seeing as like best practices that, that they're doing that you're like, that's on point?
Yeah, so I think a lot of this is not just about product, but it's also about change management. And that comes down to what we call kind of an AI readiness calculator. So we look at each of the customers and see where they are. And part of that is how good is your relationship with the IT team? Have you actually tried to do something internally with AI or not? And actually, that is a really good thing for us and a really good signal if they have tried Claude Cowork or if they have tried ChatGPT, because it means that there's an appetite and because it means that they have now figured out where's the gap that they can then point a solution towards, as opposed to coming in really broad. And it helps to really build a business case. And of course, the other piece is there's got to be a bit of time investment to clean up the knowledge base so that when you feed the AI with that knowledge base, it means that it has a better chance of being able to answer those questions at a very, very basic level.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you need a perfect knowledge base, but you do need some kind of fundamentals from which you can build upon. And what we're seeing is that the best organizations find that balance between not being too perfect, but also having the fundamentals in place and then using the AI to understand where the gaps are and being much more strategic and almost like applying a product management mindset to be able to say, we're going to launch faster, we're going to iterate, and we're going to move with the market, and then we're going to see where we're going to progress from there, rather than waiting too long or waiting for the AI strategy to play out.
Yeah, a speaker at Transform this week gave the analogy, if you have a bad recipe that doesn't taste good, and then you microwave it, it still doesn't taste good. So it's the same thing with like a knowledge base, right? If you have a bad knowledge base and you're just building on top of that or using that as the basis for whatever you're doing in AI, it's still bad, right?
Totally. And it's really interesting because what we're seeing now, a lot of the times at the beginning of our partnerships with customers, they're actually using the AI to identify gaps in the knowledge base.
Yeah.
And they're really pushing the AI and stress testing it. And they're finding things like, hey, we're mentioning an individual to contact for benefits who left 5 years ago. And they wouldn't have seen that if they hadn't implemented a solution, whether it's us or someone else or something built internally, and started the process, because otherwise it would be super hard to find.
Yeah.
So there is that balance of like, okay, we got to act now because we're already going to fall behind otherwise.
Yeah.
But equally, let's use it in the right way and use it strategically rather than going whole hog and enabling all employees to use it, because then it will fail because we know the knowledge isn't correct there.
Yeah. Speaking of it being a year, we can't wait a year next time till we see each other. We like have to do drinks or lunch or something. But if you compare last year to the questions that were being asked at your booth at Transform to the questions that you're being asked now, how would you compare those questions? What's different about it?
Yeah, we're having much more informed and meaningful conversations, I'd say. Last year, it was a lot of pressure around, we have to do something with AI, but I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
And invariably, that would be more about generative AI as opposed to agentic AI. And that definition wasn't really clear to folks. The really amazing thing now is that they're also having conversations about ROI. So it's not only agentic solutions, but what can we practically do? And we're having conversations around build versus buy. And that's really great because it means, again, it helps us to build a business case alongside them and prove real value. So it seems like the teams are much more open and have a lot more appetite and coming in a lot more informed and being a lot more practical about things rather than panicking and throwing AI at a solution which may not even need AI in certain instances.
Yeah. So this is a conference that has a lot of people leaders at it. Yeah. And obviously people are at different stages of using AI, whether they're a people leader or not. But I think a lot of people, are really early in their journey and are using, ChatGPT or Claude or chatting and just asking it questions. What would you say to those people leaders that, maybe should be taking that next step, about agentic AI? What does that look like for that people leader that, needs to take that next step and to maybe get them a little bit more comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is to do a little bit of a mindset shift and stop thinking about AI as a tool and more about how can we split up the tasks that humans are doing and look at the automation potential of those tasks. And when we look at it that way, then we can see, okay, great, this is actually really useful for agentic AI potentially. And once you have those candidates, then we can go and try it internally with ChatGPT, with Claude Cowork, or external solutions as well. Without that kind of mindset shift and really looking at what are the tasks that we're doing, it's really difficult to then know what should we even do. Now, that doesn't mean that they should stop experimenting with AI. If your organization does not already have some kind of a license that's horizontal, I would say try it over the weekends. And you kind of have to now do those things at parallel, looking at the tasks and looking at what the AI capabilities allow. And then I would say try and build something internally, even if it's a small prototype, because that will really help you to understand where those gaps are and what you want to do and own yourself versus what you really need a solution for as well.
And so, last question before my rapid fire. If a people leader was looking at revamping their tech stack, because there's so much stuff out there, what would be your single piece of advice to them? As they look at revamping that?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes back to your previous question. I would look at it less of let's revamp the tech stack and more about what are the workflows that we need to do, how repetitive are they, and therefore are they more applicable for AI or not. And only then can we look at where should that AI live. And invariably, because those workflows are across systems, it does mean then you may need a solution outside of those existing systems rather than internally. So I think that's the first kind of question to answer before saying, let's remove something because it's not AI friendly versus something else which is more AI friendly. Because even if you bring something in, if you don't know how to make the most of it, you're not going to get the ROI and it's going to be wasted budget.
Yeah. So these are not related questions these are just for people to get to know you a little bit better. Favorite football, not U.S. football, favorite football team? Are you a soccer fan?
You know what? I'm not a soccer fan at all.
What is your sport?
Sport, I would say, is cricket.
I was going to ask. Okay, cricket. Who do you follow? Is there a team you follow?
It's got to be India or England.
Okay.
So I am a British citizen. If India is playing against England, then it's India.
Okay.
If England is playing against other teams, then it's England.
Okay. Amazing. Favorite food. Like favorite guilty pleasure food.
Tiramisu. All day, every day.
You and my daughter would be fast friends. Tiramisu is when she was younger. She'd be like, I want tiramisu for my birthday cake, and she was 5 years old.
She has good taste.
Yeah, and her friends would be like, why aren't we just having chocolate cupcakes? And like bucket list, one place in the world that you haven't traveled yet.
A lot of South America.
A lot of South America.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, it's been fantastic to have you here today. I'm so excited to see what is next on the journey for you and Kinfolk. I know it's been a really exciting year, and I can't wait to play around more on the product and sort of, see the capabilities of it. But I'm excited to have you here at Transform with us. Yeah. And again, we're not going to wait another year and wait for Transform to connect again. But thanks so much. Thanks again for joining us on the Becoming Better podcast with startup experts at Transform here. Again, thanks so much.